The topic for discussion today will be on English phonetics. English phonetics, by this we mean the study of the sound in English language. Communication is something that takes place among two individuals in human societies. Communication can be both verbal and non-verbal. By verbal communication, I mean the exchange of verbal signs by a sender, and by the receiver, the same sounds are decoded in order to understand the meaning of the sound. English language is a highly structured one, like all other languages. And verbal communication depends on an exchange of such sounds that are clustered together with the help of syllables. They are clustered together to produce words, and we know that words contain meaning. So a combination of the sounds make words, and words contain meaning. Any exchange of words can help us to communicate. So our discussion today will be basically on English phonetics. English phonetics refers to the use of phonemes. Phonemes are described as minimal, indivisible unit of sound that a language uses. I repeat, minimal, indivisible unit of sound that a language uses. In order to produce such sounds in any language, organs of speech are usually used. Such organs of speech are located within the cavities, oral cavity, nasal cavity, and we have come to an understanding of these different sections, organs, systems that help us to produce phonemes. So I repeat again, the phonemes are minimal, indivisible, distinct units of sound that are used in order to create verbal communication. Communication is something that depends on an exchange of codes. Phonetic codes or linguistic codes depend on such phonetic sounds or phonemes. Once we arrange or organize such phonemes and make them a cluster, words are created, and such words contribute to the meaning formation. So this type of verbal communication that human societies use heavily depend on phonemes. So phoneme is the basic and the minimal unit of language, and these phonemes are produced by organs of speech. The organs of speech are the essential ingredients. The organs contribute to the creation of the speech sounds, but these speech sounds are also modification of air. Air stream is modified in order to produce these sounds. When human societies started evolving, we find that human beings must have started improvising on some pre-verbal sounds like oo, ah, ee, oo in order to communicate. Along with such pre-verbal sounds, there must have been also a tendency among human beings to use non-verbal sounds. Say, if someone is calling someone, this type of action gesture, to stop someone is saying this, okay, to appreciate someone is doing this, so to wave tata bye bye, someone is doing this. Such kind of non-verbal communication must have taken place. Gradually, as human societies evolved, we find that such non-verbal or pre-verbal communications were gradually shaped into verbal communication with a basic unit of sound. We know that spoken English comes before written English. Modern linguistics gives more priority to speech rather than the written form of language, because we know that speech is primary and writing secondary, or typing tertiary. Because the speech uh, is the essence of linguistic communication, and it came first. We first try to understand how these speech sounds got organized, how these speech sounds are produced. Phonetics, as we know, can be therefore understood on the basis of three basic investigation, okay, areas. On the basis of three basic investigation areas, we can understand phonetics. First, we can say that phonetics depends on the production of the sound. Production of the sound. So, how the speech sounds are produced by the organs of speech. This is broadly called as articulatory phonetics. Phonetics that is meant for articulation. Articulatory phonetics. Once the sounds are produced, the sounds are also sent, transmitted as signals to the receiver to make communication possible. And therefore, we have the transmission of this sound in another field of study that is called acoustic phonetics. Acoustic phonetics is a specialized branch in the field of physical sciences, where we have the transmission of the sound through waves, the study of the sound waves, that we called acoustic phonetics. The third branch of phonetics is the reception of the sound. That is a part of auditory phonetics. This auditory phonetics is a branch of study in medical sciences that takes into account the entire reception mechanism that is located in our ear. So ear has an ear drum that sends signals to our brain in order to decode the sound. So these three branches are essential in phonetics. I repeat, the first one is articulatory phonetics, that talks about articulation, production of the speech. The second is acoustic phonetics, that talks about the transmission of the speech sound from the sender to the receiver. The third is auditory phonetics, that refers to the reception of the speech sound. So this is a part of medical sciences, that is auditory phonetics. So first area of our discussion today will be the area of articulatory phonetics. T. Balasubramaniam, in his book, A Textbook of English Phonetics for Indian Students, has elaborately explained these, and this has been a prescribed textbook for us who try to understand the mechanism that is involved in the production of sounds, of phonemes. In his introductory note remark, T. Balasubramaniam says that language has a very special and important purpose in society, and it serves for linguistic communication. He keeps on defining what linguistic communication is, and such linguistic communication also depends on either the spoken or the written. When we focus on the spoken part of this transmission or communication, we can mainly depend on the production of the speech sounds. So medium of speech is more important, Balasubramaniam says, than writing, than the medium of writing. And speech comes first, the orality of language, that is more important. And any language community, therefore, first has developed a linguistic communication based on the speech. And we start speaking long before we start writing. You know, the child learns language with the help of speech. A small child who is trying to negotiate with sound or linguistic communication will be producing some pre-verbal sound, and then will be using some non-verbal gestures or even non-verbal signals. And then gradually the child will try to learn, try to prattle linguistic sounds. And thereby human beings learn language even before learning alphabets or learning grammar. Speech is a medium of communication that is used much more than the medium of writing. And any kind of written language, in order to represent written language, we have to use orthographic symbols. These orthographic symbols actually represent the sound that is produced. Even when we are reading a text, we must always remember we are also reading the text with the help of the sound that is being produced by the text. So, any kind of written language is therefore a translation of the speech language or transcription of the speech language in a form of writing. Therefore, speech is all important, most important than writing. This speech is produced by the human beings with the help of airstream mechanism. So I come to this area of study called articulatory phonetics, that is in the scope of study within the scope of our present class. So as an introduction to phonetics, I shall be focusing primarily today on the airstream mechanism, and then I will be talking about the organs of speech. By airstream mechanism, I mean the airstream that is used for the production of speech sound. Every sound that a human being produces with the help of articulators is actually a modification of an airstream. That means an airstream is modified by different articulators in order to make a distinctive sound called phoneme. Phoneme is the minimal, smallest, indivisible. That means it cannot be further divided. Distinctive unit of sound. So these sounds that constitute the basis of any kind of language are produced with the help of airstream mechanism. In so many languages all around the world, we have different types of languages. Okay, there are different types of languages, and all the languages heavily depend on these minimal distinct unit of sounds are therefore produced by our ears, by airstream. Every sound, every speech sound is a modification of airstream. Every speech sound, I repeat, is a modification of the airstream. And these airstream mechanisms are there to produce different types of airstream. Say mainly the airstream that is used for the production of sound. The language that I am using today is English. And for this particular language, the airstream that is being used is the airstream produced with the help of a pair of lungs. And we know that this is called the respiratory system. So airstream that is produced with the help of the pair of lungs, with the help of the respiratory system, is called the pulmonic airstream mechanism. So airstream mechanism has different types. The first and the most important producer of airstream is the respiratory system of human beings. With a pair of lungs, we produce the respiratory airstream. The second airstream mechanism that is there in the human body, and with the help of that system called the phonatory system, airstream can be produced. So in the voice box, the amplifier box, we have a pair of vocal cords. And this phonatory box, that is also called the larynx or the Adam's apple, contain a pair of vocal cord that can suck the air in and push the air out. So airstream can be produced with the help of a pair of vocal cords, and we call this airstream as the glottalic airstream mechanism. The third airstream that can be produced with the help of organs of speech, that airstream is produced with the help of the velum or the soft palate. So soft palate that is located at the back of the roof of the mouth has the ability to expand and contract. And through this process of expansion and contraction, it is capable of pulling or sucking the air in and pushing the air out in order to produce airstream. So we have three types of airstream mechanisms that are there, human beings can produce. So I repeat, the first one is the pulmonic airstream mechanism that is related to the respiratory system. The second one is the glottalic airstream mechanism that is related to the larynx or the Adam's apple, the glottis, the gap between the vocal cords, the expansion, the contraction of the vocal cords can therefore draw the air inside and release the air out. And this is therefore related to the glottalic airstream mechanism. The third is the velum that is used in order to suck the air in and push the air out. And this is called the velaric airstream mechanism. So these three types, the pulmonic and the velaric airstream mechanisms, are the three mechanisms, airstream mechanisms, that are used by human beings to produce sound. In case of all these three types, we have two basic airstreams. One airstream that is going inside our oral cavity, the other airstream is that is going outside. Okay, so airstream that is being ingressed, okay, inspired or breathed in, the air that we breathe in, this airstream is called the ingressive airstream. The breath that we release, expire, egress, that is called the egressive airstream. So when this airstream is drawn inside, when our breath is drawn inside or the air is drawn inside, that airstream can be modified to produce sound. Similarly, when that air is released, the breath is released, that particular airstream can also be modified to produce speech sounds. So when we have the entire respiratory system that is used to draw the air inside and release the air out, we have two types of pulmonic airstream mechanism. The first one is pulmonic ingressive airstream mechanism. The second one is pulmonic egressive airstream mechanism. So when the air is being drawn in with the help of a pair of lungs, and while the air is entering inside and it is modified with the help of the articulators, producing some phonemes, that airstream is called pulmonic ingressive airstream mechanism. When the same air is released with the help of the muscles of the chest from the lungs, the air passes through the windpipe, passing through the larynx and then through the pharynx, and then getting released through the oral and nasal cavity, that air that is being released is called the pulmonic egressive airstream mechanism. Similarly, in case of the glottalic airstream, we have the air being drawn inside called glottalic ingressive airstream. Similarly, the air that is being released by our articulators, by the vocal cords, called glottalic egressive airstream. Similarly, with the help of velum or the soft palate, when the air is drawn inside and we can use that air to produce speech sound, that particular airstream is called the velaric ingressive airstream mechanism. When the air is being pushed out, released with the help of the soft palate alone, by the help of the velum. Velum is also called soft palate. It is called the egressive velaric air stream. Therefore, we have 6 types of air streams, 3 basic type, and in each type we have 2 types of air stream, the egressive and the ingressive. In the languages all over the world, mainly the pulmonic egressive airstream mechanism is used for the production of maximum number of sounds. In English RP, whatever sound is there, we have this use of the pulmonic egressive airstream mechanism for the production of phonemes. In other languages like Arabic, like the Maori language, like the Afrikaans, we have the presence of certain sounds that are produced with the help of glottalic airstream mechanism or with the help of velaric airstream mechanism. So we have in English language the phonemes, all the phonemes produced with the help of pulmonic egressive airstream mechanism. So what is this pulmonic egressive airstream mechanism? To understand that, we have to understand what are the organs of speech that are related to these articulatory systems. Articulatory system depends heavily on the airstream mechanism. Whenever the air is produced, whenever the sound is produced, any kind of modification of the airstream takes place. For example, if you say ba, ah, ha, hu, he, any kind of sound you are producing, what you are doing, you are actually like a person who is playing on a pipe. You are using the articulators that are inside the mouth cavity or the nasal cavity. Those articulators are simply modifying the airstream that is being released. So the lung air is used in order to produce the pulmonic airstream mechanism. So first we should know about the respiratory system and how this respiratory system contributes to the production of the pulmonic airstream. So what are the parts of these respiratory system and how are these different parts of the respiratory system contribute to the production of airstream? So the respiratory system mainly consists of a pair of lungs. A pair of lungs, the right lung and the left lung. This pair of lungs actually help in drawing the air inside and releasing the air out. This pair of lung is supported by the muscles of the chest and a diaphragm that actually pushes the lungs in order to activate. So lungs work with the help of the muscles of the chest, and with that we have the power of the lungs to draw the air inside and release the air out. The respiratory system also consists of the muscles of the chest, the windpipe, and this windpipe contains, as you know, the vocal cords in the larynx, and the windpipe, the trachea, through which the air passes, is also called pharynx. So these are the things that are there present in the respiratory system. We all know that the lungs actually are spongy bodies made up of small sac-like structures called alveoli, and these small sac-like structures are then joined with small tubes, and these small tubes are called bronchioles. So these small tubes called bronchioles carry the oxygen, carry the oxygen by cleansing the air that is drawn in and by releasing that oxygen to the bloodstream, and then after clearing this oxygen or cleansing this oxygen, taking this oxygen out, it releases the air. So air is supplied to the alveoli by small tubes called bronchioles, and the bronchioles all come together in large tubes. 2 large tubes are there. These large tubes are called bronchi. One is situated in the right and one on the left. The bronchi then join together with the trachea or the windpipe. And it is always through the trachea that the air that we have already taken inside, or the air that we ingress, that air is released as we breathe. The air passes through the throat, and after passing through the, the sound box or the vocal cords, the glottis, the air finally escapes through the oral or the nasal cavity. So, this act of respiration involves basically two processes. These processes, I said, are inspiration, ingression, and expiration or throwing out. So, if you are drawing the air inside, it is called inspiration. When you are releasing the air outside with the help of the pair of lungs, it's called expiration. It is the respiratory lung air, and we find that the air that we breathe out is actually used in the production of the pulmonic airstream, that is called egressive airstream. So, any airstream that is produced by an airstream mechanism works exactly in the same way like a piston or a flit gun. So, in this way, the air that is pushed out, released, that particular airstream is modified by the articulators that are present in our mouth, that is called oral cavity, or in our nose called nasal cavity. When the air is pushed out, the air moves through the windpipe and reaches the oral and nasal cavity, where all the articulators are located. But this flow of the air is also controlled by the vocal cords. The amount of air is controlled by the vocal cords. So the lungs is always the initiator, and the airstream is set in motion by the initiator, and we have this airstream in order to produce audible phonetic sounds. So I say that these airstream mechanisms are of three types. So first one was pulmonic airstream, English language, English received pronunciation, or RP, uses the pulmonic egressive airstream mechanism for the production of speech sounds. In English, we have 26 alphabets, we all know, and these 26 alphabets are used to produce the written language. But when you read the language carefully, you will find that you are not depending only on 26 alphabets to produce sounds. You need some more sounds in order to produce the same language. So in written language, if a word starts with A, letter A, it can produce different types of sounds. So A for apple, A for ago, A for another, A for arms. See the distinctive sounds that we are producing with the same letter A. So all these sounds that are produced in order to produce a word, articulate a word, all these sounds are produced with the airstream mechanism. So if you close your mouth, if you close your nose, you cannot produce a sound because the airstream is not moving. The movement of the airstream is required for the production of any kind of speech sound, and any kind of movement of the airstream also requires a kind of regulation of the airstream. So pulmonic airstream depends on the respiratory system as a whole. Any kind of problem with the respiratory system will cause ineffective or defective production of the speech sound. Therefore, any kind of flaw in the bronchioles or in the alveoli, in the sac, or in the trachea, the windpipe, or in the phonatory system, in the larynx, any kind of infection in the throat will lead to a wrong supply of airstream for the production of the sound. Even the articulators may not be able to modify the airstream to produce distinctive sounds. The second one that I called the glottalic system. The glottalic system is based on the glottis. Glottis refers to the opening between the two vocal cords. This glottis is located in the Adam's apple, the throat that we call larynx. This larynx is also capable of producing airstream. With the help of the vocal cords, we can draw the air inside, and with the help of the vocal cords, we can also push the air. So the respiratory system comprising of lungs, a pair of lungs, is not seen to be useful for the production of glottalic sound. So glottis, by its opening and closing of the vocal cords, can independently suck the air inside and release the air. Therefore, in the production of glottalic airstream mechanism, a pair of vocal cords that are joined at one end, flexible on the other, and by contraction coming of the vocal cords together, that process can draw the air inside. We call this the glottalic ingressive airstream mechanism. When with the help of the same vocal cords, the air is pushed out, released through our oral or nasal cavity, we say that the glottalic aggressive airstream is produced. And this doesn't depend on the respiratory system, doesn't depend on the lungs. In a few languages around the world, we have a few sounds that are produced with either the glottalic ingressive airstream mechanism or with the help of the glottalic aggressive airstream mechanism. The third airstream mechanism I said is that of the velaric airstream mechanism. So velaric airstream mechanism depends on the velum. So this airstream mechanism depends on certain organs. And what are these? Number one, the soft palate. And this soft palate, when it expands, it has the ability to suck the air inside our oral cavity. So by the expansion of the vocal cord, the raising of the vocal cord or the lowering of the vocal cord, we have the production of the glottalic airstream. Similarly, when the soft palate is raised or soft palate is lowered, soft palate is expanded or is contracted, there is a possibility of sucking the air inside and pushing the air out. So with the help of the soft palate or the velum, the airstream that is produced is the velaric aggressive airstream or velaric ingressive airstream. So all these organs of speech, all these mechanisms of production of airstream are all intricately interrelated in order to produce the phonemes. In English RP, by RP I mean received pronunciation, we have 44 phonemic sounds or speech sounds or 44 phonemes, and these 44 phonemes are all produced with the help of the pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. Although one sound, the sound h, it appears that the sound h is a glottalic sound that is produced with the help of the glottalic airstream mechanism, but actually h sound in English RP is also produced with the help of the pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. So other two airstream mechanisms are possible, the glottalic airstream mechanism and the velaric airstream mechanism, but these are usually not used. So the most commonly airstream mechanism that is used in most of the languages all around the world, we can say, is the pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. In English language, this airstream mechanism that I have identified as pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism is actually capable of producing 44 English speech sounds or phonemes. So we have 44 phonemes in English RP. All these 44 phonemes in English RP are produced with the help of pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. Now we will focus on the next part of our discussion, that is the organs of speech. In the third chapter of T. Balasubramanian's, a textbook of English phonetics for Indian students, a discussion has been made on the organs of speech. And in this description, we have the entire image of the organs of speech that are used for the production of sounds. So I shall be sharing with you the image of the entire organs of speech mechanism that is there in the human body. So most of these parts are there. So you can see on the screen the image of the main organs of speech that are located in the oral and the nasal cavity. So we call these as organs of speech. So these organs of speech mainly modify the air stream. Air stream is modified by these organs of speech. And these organs of speech are located, number one, in the respiratory system, number two, in the phonatory system, and number three, in the articulatory system. So all the organs of speech that are there are located in three systems that are all responsible for the production of speech sounds. Number one is the respiratory system, where we have the organs of speech that are related to the production of the sound, like a pair of lungs, the alveoli, the bronchi, the bronchioles, the trachea, the pharynx, the larynx. All these are part and parcel of the respiratory system. So these are all used to produce the airstream mechanism, and this airstream mechanism will be further modified by the phonatory system. The phonatory system comprises of a pair of vocal cords, and this pair of vocal cords one can find located in the larynx. Larynx is also called Adam's apple, and in the larynx we have the presence of two vocal cords that are joined at one corner and stretchable on the other. When these vocal cords move, they can not only suck the air inside, they can also release the air out. These vocal cords can also act as gates to release the pulmonic airstream mechanism. So whatever amount of air is required for the production of sound or syllable is supplied by the lungs and regulated by the vocal cords that is present in the phonatory system. Say when I want to speak aloud, what am I doing? I'm using my vocal cords in order to speak aloud. Large volume of air is being supplied. When I whisper, when I see in a very slow manner, I just whisper, I am using little amount of air, and this is regulated by the vocal cords. How much amount of air is required for the production of sound? That is regulated by the vocal cords. Therefore, the vocal cords that are there in the phonatory system also contribute to the articulation, and therefore are also called organs of speech. These vocal cords can also independently produce sounds, and they have different functions to play. The third system is called the articulatory system that you can see on the screen. So this articulatory system contains the entire system that is there inside our oral and nasal cavity. So we have the pharynx. Pharynx, that means the passage through which the air is passing. Then we have the tongue, the entire tongue. We have the lower teeth, we have the lower lip. Then we have the upper lip, the upper teeth, the entire palate, the teeth ridge, the hard palate and the soft palate. And above that, we have the nasal passage. And then through the nostril, the air comes out. So when the pulmonic egressive air stream is released by the lungs, the air is released by the lungs. It moves through the vocal cords located in the phonatory system. It reaches this area, the oral cavity. And when the glottis means the gap between the vocal cords, is wide open, we have a free supply of air, and this air is further modified by the organs of speech that are located in our oral cavity. For the modification of sound, therefore, we have the articulatory system more responsible. Okay, for the regulation of the volume of air, the phonatory system is more important. And for the supply of air stream for the production of sounds in English RP, the pulmonic or the respiratory system is more responsible. So, a coordination of all these systems should be there for the production of particular speech sounds. In English RP, 44 speech sounds are therefore produced with the help of this complex mechanism called organs of speech that are responsible for the production of sound. So once the air is released, and the air that is released by the lungs passes through the vocal cords regulate the volume of air that is required for the production of speech sound. As these speech sounds are all clustered and cluttered together, joined together in a very complex structured manner, so there should be a consistent flow of air for the production of sound. The way I am speaking now, I am using so many sounds together in articulation. And for this, I am manipulating not only the air stream, but I am also manipulating, or I am using the organs of speech in order to create distinctive sounds. Say a word like bat contains b, a, t, three distinctive phonemes. And when these three distinctive phonemes are produced with the help of the organs of speech, especially by the articulatory system, whenever the air is modified properly, I can produce sounds like b or ba, b, a, t. So in word like pin, I am producing sound like p, e, n. These sounds are all produced with the help of organs of speech. Such distinctive, indivisible, minimal, that cannot be broken further, sounds that are there produced by the articulators are called phonemes. In English RP, we have 44 phonemes. Of these 44 phonemes, 24 are consonants and 20 are vowel sounds. In English alphabetic system, on the other hand, we have just 26 alphabets. Of these 26 alphabets, only 5 alphabets are vowels: A, E, I, O, U. These are vowels. And 21 sounds, letters, are consonants. But in English phonetic system, we have 44 speech sounds. Of these 44 speech sounds, we have 24 consonants and 20 vowel sounds. So all these sounds or phonemes are produced with the help of our articulatory system. So once the air is passing through this vocal cord, you can see the vocal cord, larynx, the air is passing, and once it reaches the oral cavity or the nasal cavity, we have different organs of speech. So the organs of speech can be classified in 3 parts. All the organs of speech that are present in human body that can produce phonemes can be classified into 3 types or parts. One, organs of speech that are primarily located in the respiratory system, that comprises a pair of lungs, muscles of chest, the trachea, the bronchioles, the alveoli. The second is the phonatory system that contains a pair of vocal cords, the epiglottis, the glottis. Glottis refers to the opening between the vocal cords, and these are joined with filaments, flexible filaments. So this phonatory system contains epiglottis, glottis, and a pair of vocal cords. These vocal cords are joined in the front and open at the back. So this larynx, the area that is protruding, therefore it is called Adam's apple. So here we have the joining of the vocal cords, and two cords, these are flexible cords, and the gap between the vocal cords allow the passage of air. The third is the articulatory system. The articulatory system contains most of the articulators that are required for the production of sounds. So most of the organs of speech are located in the entire system. Number one, articulatory system. Number two, the phonatory system. And number three, the respiratory system. Now coming to the articulatory system, we have a very complex, highly organized, scientifically viable or proved model that allows us to produce the sounds with the help of articulators. The primary classification of these articulators is based on its function. Some articulators take active participation or active role in the production of speech sound. Certain articulators remain passive in the production of speech sound. The articulators that remain actively involved, mobile, contributing to the production of the speech sound, called active articulators. I repeat, the articulators that are present in the oral cavity or the nasal cavity that are actively involved in the production of speech sound are called active articulators. So you can see in the diagram, there are certain portions in our oral and nasal cavity capable of moving, capable of actively participating in the production of the speech sound. And these are called the active articulators. So in the diagram, can you locate these? Yes, of course. We know that our lips can move, our tongue can move, even the last portion of the palate, yeah, the soft palate, can expand and can contract. So these are the movable parts. But we have simply classified the articulators into active articulators and passive articulators based on its movement from one point to another point, its ability to move from one point to another point for the modification of the air. When the air stream is moving, releasing out, some of these articulators move and take a specific position. And through the gap between the active and the passive articulator, when the air passes, distinctive phonemes can be produced. So the tongue, the lower lip, even the upper lip can perform the role of active articulator for the production of phonemes. In English RP, we have the tongue and the lower lip as active articulators. Second is the passive articulators. I said passive articulators are also involved in the production of sound, but they do not move. They remain passive. But that particular point is essential for the production of particular speech sounds. These articulators are called passive articulators. The entire roof of the mouth, okay, the upper teeth, even the lower teeth, these are called passive articulators because they remain passive. For the production of sound, these articulators do not move. They simply stay where they are. They simply stay, and the active articulator moves towards the passive articulator as the air that is escaping, that is releasing, that is aggressive airstream mechanism, airstream that is modified by the movement of the articulators. So we have in English RP 44 sounds, 44 phonemes, speech sounds produced with the help of these articulators, the active articulators and the passive articulators. Now coming to the active articulators, we can see that the lip contributes to the production of sounds. So if I simply produce sounds like pa, try out pa, ba, ma. So we see that there is a movement of the lips. Without the movement of the lips, we cannot produce. So if I produce sound like va, fa, va, So again, there is a movement of the lower lip. Lower lip is touching the teeth. So we have labiodental sound, labio lips, dental teeth, labiodental sound. When we are joining the lips together, closing the lips together, we are producing sounds. So bilabial movement is there. Upper lip, lower lip, they two join together. Or even when we articulate sound like o, oo, so we use the lips, the rounding of the lips, in order to further modify the air stream to produce particular sounds. So we have the lips acting as active articulators. Apart from that, we have the entire tongue functioning as active articulator. In the tongue, you find some portion that is related. For example, the blade of the tongue. This blade of the tongue at the front has also a tip of the tongue. So we can classify different sections of the tongue as active articulators. So I'll make a list of these active articulators. Number 1, the tip of the tongue. Number 2, the blade of the tongue. Number 3, the front of the tongue. Number 4, the center of the tongue. Number 5, the back of the tongue. So these 5 sections of the tongue, the tip, the blade, the front, the center, the back, can move to the desired position in order to modify the air stream. And through this movement of the active articulator towards the passive articulator, we have approximation of the articulators. That means the active articulator is moving closer towards the passive articulator. And accordingly, when the air stream is passing through the articulators, the specific distinctive sounds are produced. So we have the production of speech sounds with the help of active and passive articulators. Similarly, if we take into account the passive articulators are all located in or near the roof of the mouth. So these passive articulators can be further identified as the upper teeth, the teeth ridge, the joining between the teeth and the palate, the teeth ridge. Then we have the front of the roof of the mouth, the hard palate. Then we have a center position, the center of the roof of the mouth. Then we have the soft palate at the back of the roof of the mouth. The soft palate is a flexible part that can expand, that can contract, that can be raised, that can be lowered. In the diagram, you can see if you raise the soft palate, what happens? The nasal passage is blocked. That means the air cannot escape through the nasal passage when the soft palate is raised. When we breathe the air inside through our nostrils, the air can enter easily. And if the soft palate is lowered, the air can enter into the windpipe very easily. So it is easier for the wind to move through our nasal cavity, through the windpipe, when the soft palate is lowered. So if soft palate is lowered, the air can escape through the nasal cavity. If the soft palate is raised, it blocks the nasal cavity. And when the nasal cavity is blocked, air cannot move out from the nose. It has to move out from the oral cavity. So speech sounds are mainly produced when the soft palate is raised. Air is not escaping through the nasal cavity. But there are, of course, sounds in English RP that require the soft palate to be placed in a position so as to be able to release the air through the oral as well as nasal cavity. So if you close your nose and try to articulate m sound, we cannot. N sound, we cannot. Ang, try it out. Close your nostrils and try to say moaning. So you will find that no, you cannot articulate the sound because the air is not allowed to pass through our nose. The entire air is passing through our oral cavity. It is not possible to produce nasal sounds, nasalized sounds without the opening of the nasal cavity. Oral sounds, maximum number of oral sounds are there in English RP, and most of the oral sounds also require the opening of the oral cavity. If you close your mouth, you cannot articulate certain sounds. This is because the articulators are located in the oral cavity, and when the airstream is released through the oral cavity, only then the articulators can modify and produce that particular phonetic sound. So we have this nasal cavity and oral cavity containing these organs of speech. The active articulators are those that can move the tip of the tongue, the blade, the front, the center of the tongue, the back of the tongue, along with the lower lip. All these can move towards the passive articulator that comprise of the upper teeth, the teeth ridge or alveolar ridge, the hard palate, the center of the roof of the mouth, the soft palate. So these are all passive articulators. Whenever the active articulators move towards the passive articulator, we have the production of a structure of the articulators, and through the gap between the articulators, the air can pass. So before understanding how the air is modified by the articulators that are present, the active articulators and the passive articulators that are present in the oral cavity, let us first see the function of the vocal cords. Vocal cords that are located in the phonatory system has so many roles to play and perform. The first task of the vocal cord is to allow a passage of air to the windpipe, to our lungs. So naturally, when the vocal cords are closed, when we are consuming food, the food particle does not reach our lungs because the blockage is done by the vocal cords. Vocal cords are primarily meant for the production of sound. So the air stream that is passing through the vocal cords can only be used for the production of sound. Therefore, the first function of the phonatory system is to supply air stream, especially for the pulmonic egressive airstream mechanism or pulmonic ingressive airstream mechanism. The supply of air has to be made with the help of this opening of the vocal cords. Without the opening of the vocal cords, there can be no inflow or outflow of air. There can be no inspiration or expiration of the air. There can be no ingression or egression of the air. And without the movement of the air, airstream cannot be produced. And without an airstream, we cannot produce any kind of sound. So this is the first function of the vocal cords. The second function of the vocal cord is to regulate the amount of air that is required for the production of sound. Therefore, the vocal cords almost work like gates in order to decide, in order to regulate the volume of air required for the production of sound. So when we whisper, the quantity of air required is low. When we speak aloud, the quantity of air required is high. Therefore, this phonatory system, the larynx or the Adam's apple, is also called the amplifier box. With the help of the vocal cords, we can determine how the sound can be made loud or how the sound can be made low. The volume is controlled entirely by the vocal cords. Therefore, the vocal cords contribute to the amplification of sound and for the reduction of sound level. The third function of the vocal cord is to determine whether a speech sound, a phoneme, is voiced or voiceless. So there are two types of speech sounds. Number one, voiced. Number two, voiceless. By voiced sound, I mean sounds that are produced when the vocal cords are loosely held together. When the vocal cords are loosely held together, airstream passing through the vocal cords, through the friction with the walls of the vocal cords, produce a buzzing sound, a vibrational sound, and therefore such a vibration produces voiced sounds. In English RP, all the vowels that are there are actually voiced sounds. So when we have sounds a, u, e, all these sounds are voiced sounds. 24 consonants are there. Of these 24 consonants, 9 consonantal sounds are voiceless. And apart from these 9 consonantal sounds that are voiceless, all the remaining sounds in English RP that are consonantal, that are vowels, are all voiced. So out of 44 speech sounds or phonemes, only 9 sounds or phonemes in English RP are voiceless. So how are these voiceless sounds produced? Voiceless sounds are produced when the vocal cords are wide apart, and the air can easily pass through the vocal cords without any kind of vibration, any kind of buzzing, any kind of friction. Such sounds are voiceless, like sounds like p, t, k, h, th, ch, s, sh. So all these are voiceless sounds. So I repeat: f, t, k, h, th, ch, sh, p, sh, th. So all these sounds are voiceless sounds. So 9 voiceless sounds are there in English RP that are produced when the vocal cords are wide apart and there is no friction. There is no kind of vibration of the vocal cords when these sounds are produced. Although the articulation that we are doing now cannot make this distinction clear because of the presence of the vowel sounds that are required to produce any sound. So even the consonants are to be articulated with the help of vowel sounds. In our own practical understanding, theoretical understanding, we can think of consonant as independent, minimal, indistinct, indivisible unit of speech sound. But when we are in material world producing that sound, like the sound of p, b, g, d, n, h, th, we are actually taking the help of the vowel sound in order to produce this. All the vowel sounds are voice sound. Therefore, when we articulate this sound, which are called the voiceless sound, we have the interference of the vowel vibration or buzzing. Nevertheless, when we have the voice sound in English RP, we can distinguish the amount of vibration or buzzing that is there in case of voice sound as compared to that of voiceless sound. Let us compare sounds. B. When we articulate B, if we just keep our hand on our neck, we find there is a large amount of buzzing sound. That is not there in case of P. In case of T, that is not there. In case of K, but if we just produce B, G, D, N, M, Ang, so there is a buzzing sound. So when there is a buzzing sound, it is called voice sound. When there is no buzzing sound, it is called voiceless sound. So this was the third function of the vocal cords. The function is to determine whether the sound is going to be voiceless or voiced. Now coming to the fourth function of the vocal cords through their vibration has the capacity to determine the pitch of the sound. So the frequency by which the vocal cords vibrate determine the pitch of the sound. Higher is the vibration, higher is the pitch of sound. Lower is the vibration of the vocal cord, lower is the pitch of sound. Therefore, the voice that I can speak now. So this voice had a higher vibration of the vocal cords, therefore capable of producing sound with a higher pitch. If I say that I am not a man, so this sound, if I can produce, when the baritone is high, the sound that I have produced just now, this has a lower pitch because the vocal cords are stiff, they are not moving, they are not vibrating. As and when I am talking that I am not a woman, I am just a man speaking. So the vibration of the vocal cord is much higher. So higher is the vibration of the vocal cord, higher is the pitch. Lower is the vibration of the vocal cord, lower is the pitch. Therefore, the vocal cords also determine the pitch of the sound. So this is the fourth function of the vocal cord. The fifth function of the vocal cord, as I have already stated, is to draw the air in and push the air out. When the air is drawn in, it is capable of producing an air stream that is called the glottalic ingressive air stream. When the vocal cords, through its contraction, pushes the air out, it is called the glottalic egressive air stream. This is the fifth function of the vocal cords, to draw the air inside, release the air out with its own movement, producing the glottalic air stream, either ingressive or egressive. So these are the functions of the vocal cords or the phonatory system. So with this, I come to a conclusion to my discussion. So what we have learned today? We have learned today that English language has 44 phonemes. These phonemes are the minimal, indivisible, distinct unit of sound. Speech sound is primary, writing or typing secondary. So the primacy of the speech sound requires the primacy of the phonemes. These phonemes are produced with the help of air stream mechanism. Every speech sound is a modification of air that takes place with the help of articulators. So we have organs of speech. So the phonetics as a branch of study has three major areas. One is the production part, the articulatory phonetics. The second is the transmission part, the acoustic phonetics. Third is the reception part, the auditory phonetics. Then we have the air stream mechanism produced with the respiratory system called the pulmonic air stream, with the help of the vocal cords, the phonatory system called the glottalic air stream, and with the help of the soft palate or velum called the velaric air stream. And then we have different organs of speech located in different systems. Like respiratory system has a pair of lungs, bronchioles, alveoli as the trachea as the organs of speech. Then we have the phonatory system with a pair of vocal cords, the glottis and the epiglottis as the organs of speech. And finally, we have the articulatory system having the active articulators and the passive articulators capable of modifying the air stream to produce distinctive sounds. In English RP, 44 phonemes are all produced with the help of these organs of speech. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, you can ask now.